Hi, everybody. Okay, I think we are back here. So we're live with Damien back from our series on trauma recovery. So Damien's episode is actually out right now. So feel free to go and check that out at the inspirehealthpodcast.com or on the YouTube channel, Dr. Jason Loken, ND. And you can check out his episode. We had a conversation with him a little while ago, and it's a really great episode. We've had lots of good feedback from it. So go check it out. There's lots of information. And as we tend to do, we bring back our guests whenever we can and do a live Q&A. And then at some other point, we often get together and do a round table where we bring several of the guests back together and have conversations. So this is our live Q&A with Damien. So Damien, welcome back to the show again.
Thank you, Jason and Tay, for having me back. And it's such a pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you. And thank you to your audience for your time.
Wonderful. And so audience, feel free to check in with us, write in questions if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Damien specifically. We've got a bunch that we're going to go through today, but if anything else comes to mind, feel free to write it in. And also tell us where you're coming from. It's always nice to see where everybody is located. So Damien, welcome back. And we got a few questions that came up for you from last time. So
okay.
First off, anything new that's been going on for you over the last bit? Anything you'd like to share before we jump in?
I feel a major shift is taking place at the planet at the moment, and it's what's come up very strongly in the last week or two is the fact that a lot of people are feeling that they can't make a difference in the field or an impact in the field, and that's not the truth. That we're made to think we can't, but actually we are. We're making an impact in the field, and we're all leaders, we're all creators, and we're all creating new fields. So it's like to really say, it's like your spirit has got you, and to keep that flame going, keep that passion going, you're going in a good way. And always when a system is about to collapse, you feel like you're hopeless. You feel like it's not going to work. It's the end of the line. And then suddenly it just collapses. So I feel that there's a lot of activity at the moment, which makes us feel like we can't make a difference, but we're making a difference, and it's working in the background, and there's like this tsunami wave starting, and it won't stop. So keep going. That's what I'll say.
That's so true. It's like when you're kind of getting close to something really breaking, that's usually when it gets to be the most intense. I know I've definitely found that in my own life too, many times. So.
And Damien, I'm reading this book right now, this series called Telos. I'm not sure if you've come across it before, but it basically speaks about our Lemurian heritage as a species, and it speaks of exactly what you said just now. I'll read a short little paragraph here. It reads, "The long, dark night you have endured on the planet is almost over. Very soon the light will shine brighter than it ever has for all of us to enjoy. You are now experiencing the last hours of darkness as the dawn is peeking through. Although you will soon be facing the changes that you have long anticipated, we ask you to perceive these changes as the deliverance of your planet. That time is now imminent, and it is important that you stay centered in your glorious self. Do not allow yourself to go into fear, dear ones, and accept all changes and shifts that present themselves no matter what you witness and experience around you." So exciting times.
It is. And I totally feel and resonate totally with that. And I've never seen people clear so much trauma from the system so fast. Like normally what would have taken years to clear is happening in a few moments. And embodiment levels, it's about embodiment now, and working with whatever cellular information is traumas in the way. And I've never seen such miracles happen in a way of embodiment and clearing very heavy trauma so fast. So just as much as if systems open, a lot of systems open, it means that the key for transformation is in the system. So when I feel like there's something heavy coming, I know that there's always the opposite, the antidote is always in the system. So that makes me feel very calm and relaxed, and also to almost celebrate when something opens up. I accept it's here, and I accept it as a teaching, and I accept that the antidote in a way is in the field already. I don't even have to know what it is or how to get there, but just give it space, and then it starts transforming immediately in the system. So I never felt so connected, embodied, centered, and balanced. It's really, it's a different time. I feel like I've stopped saying higher self now. I've just used whole being, whole self, because I feel there is no difference now, that we're literally embodying. Spirit is embodying completely mind, body, spirit. That's where we're at the moment on this planet.
Well, and that's a really reassuring feeling for people too. It's kind of that idea that God doesn't really give you something that you're not capable of handling. So
Yeah,
it's sort of like the tools are there. So if it's surfacing, then it is within you. The tools are there somewhere. We just have to access them.
absolutely. And what's yours you can handle, what's not yours you cannot handle.
Oh, I
So
like
if you're feeling overwhelmed, like I always use, I have a few gauges in my system that I'm checking myself. If I feel overwhelmed, for me, that means I'm in a genetic place which it doesn't belong to me. Like the only genetic place I can be in this life system is my own, and my biological mom on the left behind me, and my biological dad on the right behind me. If I put them in the child place, or I go into somebody else's place as mom, dad, genetic. I'm talking about genetic means DNA on a DNA level. It's not about good mom, bad mom, whatever. It's about your DNA place. So it's like everything is a system, and we are DNA and energy with information. And I'm made up. My ancestors' information is inside me, and the future children information is inside me. So if I jump into somebody else's magnetic energetic field of information and DNA, that information will come up in my system, and my system can do nothing with it. It's like blocking a river. So I will block the people around me as well. I'll block my children, I'll block my parents, I'll block the system. And then when I step in the right place, the field just opens up. So it's like, and it's really like, it is a field of living information. I know it's even with my dog. My dog sometimes jumps in my partner place or my child place, and I can see he changes, his characteristics change. And he will take on all my topics, the family topics in the system, but he can't handle it. It's overwhelming for him. So as soon as I know you're my dog, you're not my partner, you're not my child, you're not my father, you're not my mother, and really honor that he's my dog, then his field relaxes, calms down, and he becomes a dog again. But this is with all of us. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, I would say, okay, ask yourself, have I taken someone's child into my system? Have I become a parent of somebody? Have I stepped into somebody else's genetic place? Because that's really, a teacher for me to show me. Another thing I always look at as well as like a gauge for me is if I feel excessive sadness in my system. So sadness for me is my friend. I need a little bit of sadness in my system for compassion and empathy. Any more, if it gets too much, it's an indication, tell that, Damien, you're giving too much yourself to a system. Everything's a system. People, business, relationship, they're all systems. So if I give too much of myself, then I get excessive sadness. So what I do is it almost like taps me on the shoulder, says, Damien, relax, take it easy. Now ask the system, where are you giving too much? Who are you giving too much to? And then I just set the intention, okay, let's balance it again. And as it balances, I can feel the sadness gets less and less and less. And then I get back into joy and connection again. So once you start knowing how systems work, and it's very simple in a way. The universe is very simple. Everything's a system. And once you get conscious of how the systems work, you can really work them and change them as well. But for me, it's very important to get into if I want to make physical change, transformational change, body change, cellular change, I need to be in the cells, I need to be in the body. All the information is in the body. And as I say, if you're in the wrong genetic place, you're going to take in information which doesn't belong to you, and you can do nothing with that. I know I worked with somebody who took 2 children into the system, and so he became mom and dad for children that was not belong to him, and he had double spine. He had surgery on the spine twice. And I looked at the system, I said, that surgery is not belong to you. That's because your genetics belong to somebody else. And sure enough, we cleared it then. But it's really, to be clear with your genetics. If you don't know who your mom and dad, it's cool, no problem. Your soul knows. So the parents who took you up, you honor them as parents, but not biological parents. And you just say to your system, okay, I honor my biological parents into the system. I say mom on the left behind me, dad on the right behind me. Another thing which is really important, especially at the moment, if there's a lot of fertility treatment as well, is that it's very important to honor the children, the unborn children. So if it's from termination or miscarriage or fertility treatment, it's very important to honor these souls in your system as your children, because they're not here for the full physical experience. They know on a soul level that they were not going to have the full life physically. They don't need that. But what they did come for was to be in the genetic system in this timeline. That's how these spirits can enter the timeline. And when they're in that timeline, they can work in the system with the family and bring their gifts into the system. So if they're not honored in the system, which happens a lot with termination, is that it's very heavy for mom or dad, so they turn away from the system. But the children, our souls, are around, and they say, no, I'm your child, you're my mom, you're my dad, everything's cool, mom and dad, and they just need to be in the genetic system. And when you feel them in the genetic system, balance, safety, and openness in the system, and the genetics flow again.
Beautiful. I really like the talk around systems, even in a lot of different aspects. I think looking at sort of a systems approach to thing makes a lot of sense, because you're looking at it's like a whole person sort of perspective, not sort of individual pieces of it. And in this regard, it makes me think a lot of times people are trying to figure out boundaries, right? Figure out boundaries around stuff. But it seems to me that you could, those boundaries almost naturally organically arise when you find yourself back in the right system. So if you can bring awareness to, so if you can bring awareness to if you're in the wrong system, that's why the boundaries are out of balance. But if you can get back in the right system, then the boundaries will just naturally start to present themselves. Would that be?
Absolutely, yes. And that was coming up as I spoke in the first time with vanishing twin, when there's a missing twin in the womb, that, as a child, if the mom gets sick, the child will give stem cells to mom. And what I noticed when working with people with vanishing twins, where there was a second egg or a third egg, that you start giving information, stem cells, to your brother or your sister, your sibling, because they're getting sick. And so the first programming in the womb affects you for the rest of your life. So the womb represents the world now. So you're giving your stem cells to your twin, so you'll have a tendency in life to give your life force to people around you, whoever steps in the genetic field around you, because there's an overlap of a genetic field in front of you, which then you'll give too much, you'll overgive, you'll burn yourself out. Then you're second in the system, because the twin is always first. You've now moved into the twin place. So you're in the twin's place now. And then you're going to be second in the system. So you won't do things for yourself, you'll do things for others. And you'll feel neglected and betrayed, and many different topics. There's a lot of information on the twins on my YouTube channel or on the website. That's a really important topic for embodiment and for health. I worked with people who had liver transplants, organ transplants, because genetically, when there's an overlap of one egg with the other egg and the other one dies, not always all the cells die of the twin, but they merge with the living person. And then sometimes the liver will develop with the liver of the first egg, the first sibling. And then if that twin merges, for example, the one would be, so example of the liver, then the information is deadness because the twin died. So the information is dead. So then the liver creates a problem, a health problem, or it could be a cancer, or it could be a bone cancer, or it could be Lyme's disease or something, because it's a living cell with a dead cell information behind it. So that's why it's so important to work with the vanishing twin at the moment. And I realize that a lot of health conditions are created because of that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to understand that. So from how I've been looking at it, it's not really us as a single soul coming in to embody this physical soul. We're actually fractals of light. So we actually have fractals of light, not only, on this dimension, but upon other dimensions as well throughout the cosmos. And then with that understanding, and our interdimensional beingness and how we're ultimately all connected and not separate, I guess then how are we supposed to, are we then trying to just figure at this moment while we're working through trauma where we are at this time in order to be able to process the trauma? From that point then to be able to come to a place where we can tap into more fully our in interdimensional reality, I guess then, like, along the process of ascending or raising our consciousness, where does this separateness, or how does this idea of boundary play into being useful at this time in particular? I'm not sure if I articulated that well enough.
Yeah, as Jason was saying about the boundaries as well, the system. So everything's a system. So that's why I brought up the twin as well, because it has you will have an opening in your aura, which then you've no boundaries in the system. You're open to the world. You're open to letting people into your system. So when there's a wound in the system, like from a trauma, there's a wound in your aura. I'll give you an example. There was a friend of mine, he used to give me a lift, pick me up from the airport when I was traveling. I used to travel around the world a lot teaching. And then when I go to that country, I won't say which country it is because you know who he is, I got into the car and I was always like nervous. I said, oh my God, I feel really nervous in the car. There's a hit on your right side. There's a hit on your right side. We need to resolve this. So anyway, he didn't do it. But anyway, he always had crashes on the right side. People would hit him on the right side. And what happened was, one day I says, come on, we have to clear this. There's something in your aura, like a hit like this. So anyway, he had a few crashes. And then I says, okay, this is enough. A year later, I came and says, okay, come on, please, you have to look at this. So when we looked at it, there was an impact in his childhood of a hit. So the energy in the system on his aura on the right side was a hit like that. So it meant that information was in the aura. So if you get an impact or a trauma, the soul gets fragmented and it leaves an opening in the aura. So you've no boundaries, or you attract that vibration to you. We are vibrational beings. So yes, we are whole beings already, but we're in a physical vehicle, physical body. And we're here as spirit to work through the information of what's in this body and to remember our wholeness. And to remember our wholeness, it's like a puzzle. It's to find out, everything. Spirit is the most incredible organizer. Every single thing that happens to me in every single moment of every day is there to help me remember who I am and become more whole. My ego may reject that or doesn't want that. But because we're in planet Earth, we have free will to choose, do I accept it as an experience, or do I deflect from it, or do I escape out of the body? If I escape out of my body, I'm not being present, so there is no transformation. So if you only focus on the light and do the work up there, it'll work on a soul level, but you'll have a hard job getting back into the body to embody it here on Earth. So that's why I feel, for me, years ago, I was told by spirit, Damien, you have to work on yourselves. You have to clean your body. You have to work on the trauma in your body to get back into your body. And then you bring this heaven on earth feeling and spirit on earth. And also we are multidimensional beings, but then the multidimensional being is on earth as well. And then we can manifest, because we have incredible gifts for manifestation, and we are like in a matrix that we can change it. I've seen many people have these absolute miracles in front of my eyes, and it's always, I can see like a matrix, their system just changes. You can see that their whole being changes in front of their eyes because they accepted to let a trauma go. They accepted to let the revenge go, or I'll get you back, or the guilt go, or the shame go, or they were pulling themselves back in another field. And as soon as they clear that, then their health changes or their life changes. And you can see it in their whole system. It's incredible. Or it could be past life. Past life is pretty easy to work with. For me, it's really about, my intention always is to get the point of the trauma, the exact point of the trauma, because if I know if I get the target point, then everything else will work by itself. I don't need to do anything. It just resolves. It's like a deck of cards. The whole thing starts clearing through the whole system. So that's how I work. So I just set the intention, the spirit, to find the root cause of whatever that topic is coming up at the moment. And when I find it, then the whole system starts transforming by itself, and I give it time to untangle. We're physical beings, but the system tangles. We sort of tangle with abuse, tangle with people's belief systems. And it's not about cutting cords or pushing or jumping out of. It's about untangling. It's like how the universe flows. So it's this untangling from abuse energies, untangling from the brainwashing, untangling from trauma. And then my spirit comes in. When spirit comes down, you get a sense of this DNA spiral. So it's this, we are vibrational, non-physical beings in a physical body, and spirit comes in. Like when someone makes transition, you can see, actually I see them, that their soul light frequencies, as you said, Tay, like the light frequency leaves the cell, and that's the way I see it going up, or that's the way I see it going down. So for me, it's like, for transition, I worked a lot with transition, helping people with transition. And it wasn't until I was with my mom for her passing that she gave, because I'm her son, that was a huge gift for me, because I was there for the moment she made transition. So her soul and our connection gave me the information of how to get out of the body. So then I know how to get back into the body. So that's how, so the system, I realized that it's not about people, we think, well, I used to think, well, it's just spirit, whole spirit getting in, whole spirit getting out. For me, I don't see it like that anymore. I see it as, like, as you say, fragments of light frequencies, but it's the cells, spirit is in the cells. So if I want to make transition, I go through my cells. The parts of me that are not in the cells will not make full transition, will hang around in the astral field. For example, if I go to a graveyard, I see the personalities of the spirits over the graves, around the graves, waiting for the relatives to come back and accept them, accept what's not unresolved. And then they go back into the cells, and then they make transition. So for me, it's very important to realize that the universe is in my cells, and it's about embodiment through the cells, and then to incarnate back through the cells from every life. For example, if I don't know, lost my arm in another lifetime and I left some fragments of the bone behind, I will come back in maybe without that part of the bone and then have an accident again with my arm. So it's up to me then to find that path. Like I had it with my hips. I was talking about my hips before, because I was pulled apart in a past life, and I left fragments of the joints behind. So then in this life, I broke the joints in this life. So when I realized where it was, then I invite those soul fragments back, and then my hips start healing. So it's really to realize that I am here, but I'm also maybe in other lifetimes. I always see it like the Empire State Building, and every floor is connected through an elevator, which is my channel. And then in some of those floors, I may have left fragments of my soul behind. For example, if I knew I was going to be killed, I may jump out of the body before I'm killed, and then I don't make transition because I didn't get into the body. I need to get back into the body to make transition. So that's why, for example, around fires, drowning, these things, it's very, sometimes spirit, the spirit will hang around. I worked a lot with people who were killed in fires, for example, and they don't fully make transition because they think that the light is the fire, the flames. So I support the spirit, say, listen, it's the flames, it's not the flames, it's the light, go to the light, go to the light. And then the spirit makes transition and then comes back into the body in this life.
That's fascinating. A couple things here. First, I want to mention. A couple of people have mentioned some stuff around your work, which I think is really nice too. So, blessings, Damien. You're amazing. Thank you for helping us all with your gift. I have immediate private outcomes working positive outcomes working with you in webinars. And Tracy first mentioned, and thank you for your comments, everybody. Lots of benefit from your teachings and experiences. And Tracy had a question here too that I want to touch on. Now, we can't kind of answer specific health questions because there's lots of things around that, but we can maybe use it as a template to dive into a little bit. So Tracy talked specifically about highs that she'd been experiencing and wondering if starting to go within to ask the cells and immune system to clear any anxiety or fear that is presenting itself, is that on the right track? Or what would be the process when someone is sort of dealing? It actually ties to a question that I was going to ask you anyways, around when someone is dealing with a certain health problem, or like you had said, you come back in and it's like in a past life, something had happened and that wasn't resolved. So now you keep finding an injury in that specific area or a specific health concern that keeps coming back. How do you connect to the awareness that you're needing to sort of get, or the awareness that you're needing to gain in order to then resolve that conflict? And I'm thinking maybe that ties in with what Tracy's question is too. She specifically was asking about the cells in the immune system to clear any anxiety or fear that's presenting itself. Is that where you would go, or is it a process on trying to figure out what the conflict actually was?
Tracy, do I have permission to say what's coming up in your system? Just give a yes or no to that. I can give you on a soul level if you want as well.
Yes.
Okay. So Tracy, in a past life, and the past life information goes straight up. That's all you have to do. So in a past life, what I see is that you were burnt. It's boiling water, and you've got these burns over your body. And so simply, if you could let that information leave your skin, leave your system, and it's in your nervous system, that's why the pain is there as well. And in this life system, what you can do is, I feel also you've got a vanishing twin in your system. So it's not your skin. You're not in your own skin. You're not in your own nervous system. It's merged with a twin system. So if you could take a look at the webinars I have on the vanishing twin, I feel that will help you a lot. And so this will unravel, this unraveling feeling. If you can unravel from your twin, that's more in the webinar. You'll see that in the last webinar I did. But I feel that will help your nervous system and help you come into your own skin. You're in somebody else's skin, so you can't get into your own skin. You're in your twin system. So it's not your system, it's not your skin, it's not your nervous system. So you can't get in. That's I feel they're the two aspects you need to look at. As I say, past life and then the twin system. That's what's coming up in your system at the moment, Tracy, I feel.
That's awesome. Thanks, Damien.
Well,
when someone's trying to connect to that, can someone connect to that energy on their own? Like as far as what would be the process, I guess, of inquiry to sort of bring us to an awareness to connect to that? And Tracy said, that feels right. So.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy, for allowing us to share. So when you work on your own system, you will become more clear and almost like aware of different fields. And it's like, I didn't always have this. It's something I needed to develop. It's something that I needed to clear myself. It's like I had things in my childhood, but I didn't trust them. I didn't listen to them. And most people, nearly everyone who comes and asks me a question, they say, oh, well, I knew that, but they didn't act on it. So it's really about trusting that very, very subtle signs that you're getting and to act and to listen to them. And because we don't trust those, and it takes time to build up that trust inside. As you clear something in your system, it sort of turns open. Like, we are much more than this 3D world. We're much more. And I'll give you an example. I remember I met a scientist, and he was in Russia. He was working in the Kremlin with children, and he's working with children with stem cells, for example. And they were creating, when I met, he came to Mykonos on holidays, and he was saying, oh yeah, the kids, because I do genetic work and with DNA and also stem cells. And he saw one of the books I had, and he said, oh, the kids are making an ear at the moment, but they're in the middle of making a heart at the moment in the lab. So they collected specific key children in Russia, and they had them working in the Kremlin, and they were creating physical organs basically with the stem cells. So I tuned into because I can do that, I can look at systems, and he allowed me to take a look at the system. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Can you imagine the level of consciousness these children have to know that they can create organs, to know that they can heal themselves? So I remember the first stem cell doctor I was in front of, my system was blocking that information that I could heal myself, that my stem cells actually heal and can start growing, organs or joints. So I needed to work through those belief systems. But I was like, wow, that's amazing to have a group of children who actually have experienced it. For me, it's very important to find people who have experienced it, not only know it through the mind, but experienced it through their being. So these children are like creating a field that we are able to regrow organs, to heal ourselves. So that's how we create new fields. And these children would have different senses to us because they're in that field. It's almost like when we had black and white TV, then we had color TV, then we had HD TV, and then we had 3D. So you can't tell someone what 3D is unless they see it and what they experience it. It's like with love. You can tell people, no, feel love, feel compassion, but if they never felt it, they'll just imagine it, or in the mind, they'll think of it as like the Hollywood love, I call it. So you need to experience it. And when you experience it, then you become it. So if you feel a gift in me or someone else, that means you have that gift inside you, but you haven't accepted it yet, because you would not feel or sense a gift in somebody unless you have that gift in yourself, and it's a frequency. So you turn on a new frequency, and when you turn on a new frequency, you enter a new field, and then you can sense in that field and feel in that field. And sometimes it takes a bit of practice to get more confident in that field, but you're actually opening up new sensory systems, and you're entering new fields. It's like turning on new levels of vision, of instincts. Does that help?
I love these conversations, Damien, because I really feel like through these interactions and discussions that we're actually starting to tap into the possibilities and more opportunities, and also as a result, breaking down old belief systems that are no longer valid.
And very limited, and very limited.
Yeah. I remember there was one time I was in the States with a friend, and she was very open, and she was really connected to the forest and the plants. So through our connection, we went out to the garden one night, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And it looked like in Avatar, the movie, that I could see all the trees and the plants with light bodies and the light sparkling around me. And I never took LSD, but I'm sure that's what it looked like. But I really felt like I was on a trip, and the two of us were like, it looked like we were on a trip, but we could see and we could sense the systems. But I could sense them because she sensed them, and she tuned my system in to open that field up. So that's why it's very interesting to find people who specialize in certain fields. And if you make a connection with them, their system will open those systems for you. They will awaken those systems. That's why I was talking about the archetypes the last time. That's why I'm very intrigued by archetypes, because there's, it reminds me of leaders, teachers, healers, politicians. It really archetypes of virtues. So when I find living fields of archetypes, I can integrate them in my system through my genetics. For example, Alexander the Great is behind me at the moment. And that was true. Spirit told me to go to the museum and, guided me there. And I was like, why Alexander the Great? Why what am I doing here? And I was told, okay, take him home with you. So I had to buy him at the museum shop. So what I realized was that, as I said, with the genetics, our DNA is very interesting. We can reprogram our DNA ourselves. So if I have, for example, not a very strong fatter connection behind me, the fatter energy is very, very important. The fatter energy is like having a hand behind your back saying, I'm here for you, do what you want, live your own life. I believe in you and I support you. And if you need me, I'm here for you. You have space to grow, you have space to be yourself, okay? Mother energy is more in front of you. I'm here for you. I love you. I'm compassionate with you. Now, if you're missing one of these energies, your system will be lacking it. You'll have to find different topics related to it. So what I was guided that day in the museum was to literally allow Alexander's great energies, the virtues of him, into my DNA. So I basically stood not in front, but I stood behind like I am now. And I allowed him into my right side, which is my father's line. And I could feel my whole spine changing, and also my spirits are coming in, and I start becoming more confident. So I had a lot of insecurities, and then suddenly I felt more secure. So then I start to realize, then I start being guided to go back to different museums and ancient sites. So then I start working with all the different ancient archetypes. And I start sitting, I would sit there sometimes for hours and days. So I'd sit there and say, okay, how does it feel to have, for example, Alexander the Great as a friend, as a teacher, as a leader? So as a leader, he'd be in front of me. As a teacher, he'd be facing me. Okay, and I would stand there and wait till I feel the energy and what my vibrational DNA, how it would react, that he's in front of me, or he's there as a friend, or a leader, or a colleague, or a partner, whatever, in the systems, in the different genetic systems. Or a Tina, I was working with a Tina, she's very strong in my system, or to Aphrodite is very strong as well, to see how it would feel to have a mother like Aphrodite in my system, how it would feel to have a leader like her, a teacher like her. And I could feel that my system was changing. So all these, what I got very strong when I'd go to these ancient sites was, Spirit was telling me, no, we are living. We're not old information, we're living information. So if you imagine that all these statues, like I worked a lot with archaeologists and that, they were like, there's one really, she was teaching all over the world, and I brought her to museums and she says, oh my God, Damien, I thought they were old information, they're living information. So I got her to stand in front of them and stand in different locations in her DNA, and her whole system changed. So these are like jewels that are waiting for us to reactivate. So for example, when I work with world leaders, I open up all the archetype information, and then it overgrows their insecurities, and then they become virtuous leaders, qualities, in their system. So it can almost like delete the old insecurities which we've taken on through the ancestral lines. And then you give this information back to your parents, and then you give it to your children, and it works in the whole system. So that's how I work with the archetypes.
Interesting. So I hear a reoccurring theme of feeling, like really tapping into feeling. Like even when you were talking about your process, you were feeling it, not intellectualizing it, not going into the logical mind, but really feeling it, feeling the subtleties within your body.
That is the key. So for example, if I go to, for example, back to the ancient site, I won't even read about it. I will go there to feel. Mm-hmm. So when I'm giving workshops, I will bring somebody through the experience and let them feel the experience, and then I will teach them about the experience. For me, it's about being it, because when you feel it, you be it, and your DNA changes, your cells change, your vibration changes, and it's in your system, like on all levels then, not only the mind. If I tell you with the mind first, then your system may block it.
Yeah.
So that's how I get, that's what, you hear people saying downloads. That's what downloads are, transmissions are. You're giving transmissions. So for me, communication, like words were originally, I feel they were created in a way, they're systems. Every word is a system. and they open up new systems or help us enter systems. So when you speak with words through your being, you change systems. When you do it with the mind, you fall asleep, or you're in the mind, nothing really happens. But for me, it's very important to speak through my being, and then I have a vibratory shift in the system, and the cells and the DNA will change. The whole field will change. As I said before, the key for opening a system is intention. Not to try, not to push, not to I hope, not to let's say, no, intention. Intention opens systems and they come to you.
That's beautiful. So even when somebody is asking them, like, how do you even begin the process, or like, how do you even, call upon Alexander the Great or whoever it might be for me to lean into for support or for anchoring, it's what I'm hearing you say is, as soon as you have that intention, then those possibilities will start to come alive for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also to see them as your equal, eye to eye, heart to heart. If you see someone above you or below you, it doesn't work. You're not in the system. You've separated yourself. You created separation. So for me, I see that you are me, I'm you. You're one. We are one, and that way, the system is open. So Alexander the Great is in all of us. Tina is in all of us.
Interesting. So otherwise, you're almost stepping into the old patterns of I'm not good enough or I'm inferior. And that again is just playing on an old pattern, old belief system, reinforcing that rather than a system that is actually enabling you to step into the fullness, the godness that you are.
Absolutely. Like, for example, I can do it right now. I can open up a lot of the information in my system. So if I open up, for example, a very strong leader, say, I know Zeus comes in. So if I open that information up to the right-hand side behind you, and just sense and feel and just stay with your body, and imagine you could even stand if you're at home and just sense your body. Don't even look for it. Don't even, just be with your body, and it's energy. It's all energy. It's only energy. And just breathe into your spine, breathe into your body. And what it's doing is it's simply reminding you that you already have that inside you. And then if I open up Aphrodite in the mother side, or as a leader, and stay with the body and observe your body. Even your posture may change. You may feel more upright or even more space in your lungs. And then I'm opening up in a way that all the archetypes are around you and above you and below you. That's really beautiful, because then your system will just pick what's right for you. This is your whole being working with you now. And this is coming into your DNA as well. Simply breathing into your DNA and being present, not taking it serious. Simply, it's okay if the mind's active. It's okay if there's resistance. Only the intention. And now the DNA is allowing your DNA to come in, your whole being's DNA to enter your own DNA. So there's boundaries coming into your DNA now. And it's clearing out all the old genetic imprints that's in the DNA as well. How do you sense anything, Jason or Taya?
I felt like a little push in my low back that kind of felt like it was making me more upright. That was the sensation that went through my lower spine.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Do archetypes have, is it more beneficial for the archetypes to have a significance or meaning for you, or are they just general archetypes that hold a particular frequency that you're tapping into, and you receive those benefits regardless?
So for me, it's almost like once I get to know the qualities, I can feel the qualities of each archetype. Of course, each archetype has a personality level as well. So that part I'm not interested in. I'm interested, always set the intention to go to the quality. What's the qualities? So the qualities, what qualities will support me? Okay, not the personality level. And what it's doing is it's sort of, I know Aphrodite was very strong for me, and I used to sit with her and go into the museum and really sit with her and feel what she was doing to my system. And there was layers and layers of different parts of my soul that would start remembering different qualities, or I was drawn to a book or drawn to watch a video or something about the feminine. And my spirit sort of guided me to remember more qualities of the feminine within me, and also in my body, in my cells, and I could feel how I was developing and how I was changing. So in the beginning, I didn't know, and then I start being guided to information which resonated with my soul. But that information was already with my being on a soul level. It's just Aphrodite, for example, was the key to allow more balance in my system. So for feminine, masculine in the system, for the feminine to relax, you need the strong male energy. It's like the archetype of the man. And then she can melt into the love and protection of the man. For the male, you need a strong woman, and then the male can relax into the system. But it's really about the feminine, masculine within ourselves. So it's healing the wounded feminine and masculine, which has happened in our DNA related to our ancestors and our past lives. But really, we are one. But the thing comes in with the left and right, where we don't trust. I'll always say the webinars, for example, I'm doing, or when I'm completing a session, is to work with left, right, front, back, above, and below, always the directions. And I never mention masculine, feminine, because if I use the word masculine, feminine, the protection comes up in the system. It's too guarded. So I'll simply say left and right. Allow your left side support your right side. And then the system, there's no programming. There's too much programming around masculine and feminine. So a lot of resistance in the system. So yes, it can help. You can be guided to read. If you're guided to certain qualities, it's your spirit guiding you to find those qualities and remember and accept those qualities in yourself.
It's so it's the archetypes then can be literally whatever represents that sort of for you, that you're sort of resonating, that you're drawn to, that basically opens the door up for what's already there within you. I know when I would, my experience with this would be kind of twofold. I used to compete for a long time in karate, and I remember going into open weight division where I'd have to compete against people that were like sometimes twice my size. And I remember sort of having like anxiety around that at one point. And so I got really dove into reading about one of the old Japanese swordsmen, Musashi. And I actually really embodied that. And as I'm thinking about it with the way you're talking about it, I wasn't intentionally doing it in that regard, but I really got immersed in the energy of what that was and what the energy of Bushido was, which was sort of the way of the warrior, but it's not in a violent sort of a way. There's a lot to that sort of archetype. And I remember anchoring that in competition and stuff, and it was really a game changer. It was sort of this experience. And I remember even when I would sort of almost like fantasize about it, sometimes it would be Musashi would be like my teacher, and sometimes he would be like my brother right beside me, and we would be, whatever, sort of defending and stuff together. But it carries a very different feeling around it, and it seems like it just rounds out all of these different sensations that you can connect back to. So I really love that. And I think that was probably a really big experience for me on bringing in that concept of an archetype without kind of realizing that that's what I was doing at that time.
Absolutely, because these are energetic fields. I work a lot with the samurai, for example. The samurai is an incredible field to go into because it's just that relays, it's really clear, clean, no anger, presence, stillness, silence, and it's pure connection, and it has that.
As you're talking about it, I can feel that same energy come back again, and there's like there's a cleanness to it. Sometimes I still feel if there's things I have to get done, I'll connect back to that where it feels like you're pulling out the samurai sword and just kind of cutting through the BS and just doing it to get done. That's the feeling.
If you bring that, for example, up through the spine, the sword up through the spine, like the samurai sword, and bring it through your whole being, it creates balance. And then you're in justice and you're in truth and you're in balance. So, and it sets boundaries up in the system, but it also creates this field of stillness and space. So in the universe, black light, for example, brings space. So in space, there's another field, which people think there isn't anything in it, but there is. It's another field of living vibratory information, and it's before creation. So when you are visualizing and dreaming, so it's like what the Native Americans used to do for the rain. So they go into a state of, they were called the dreamers. So the dream, there's daydreaming and then there's dreaming. So for me, dreamers is when I get my emotional body involved, my vibratory body involved in the system. And that's getting into creation before manifestation. So it's a specific field. It's like the space within the cells. And that's before manifestation. So for example, if you want to work with organs or if you want to work with health, I would visualize what it's like to have a perfectly healthy kidneys, for example, and feel it and sense it and vibrate, and then let it go. And then you bring the information to the cells that they're living, they're healthy already. So that's how you can dream things into existence, and we can dream the future into existence as well, as we're all doing. And you can see that through, people are doing it through movies, and so people can use, the film industry is not using it in a very good way at the moment. So they're creating true, you can see it in what's happening in the news. The news is creating drama and lights and action, and they're creating fear. So they're creating this us all to visualize this, pandemic, for example. Okay, so that's they're creating that field, but that is not the truth in the system. But when you're out of your system in fear, you're out of your vibratory system, and you think it is because I sense it and I'm scared and I feel it and people dying around me. Oh my God, it's terrible. So, but that is not this truth in the system. It's like I used to call it like the movie Jaws. Do you remember the movie Jaws about the shark? And I remember in school, there was people, kids in my class, and they were afraid to get in the swimming pool in case Jaws would get them, okay? Because there was so many people in fear watching that movie around the world that it became a collective Jaws shark in the system, that everybody was afraid. But then you tap into that field. It's a living field of information. That shark becomes alive in our minds very easily. So if you tell me then about Jaws when I'm in school, I'm going to tap into that Jaws in the system, and I'm going to be afraid to get into the bat because Jaws might be in my bat. So that's how you create these fears or demons in the system. But it's not the truth. It's not spirit. That's the astral fear. That's the hell on earth. So the field, the people who are creating this pandemic stuff at the moment is creating hell on earth. And hell on earth only exists when you get people spinning in their fears and in their minds out of the vibratory system, out of direct connection of spirit. We are creation. We are God already in our system. We are creators, and we have the universe inside us. We're free creators. We're eternal beings, and we are whole already, and we have nothing to fear. So that's how different systems are working. That's how they create different systems. And that's why, for example, with gaming, there's a lot of kids doing gaming at the moment. So first is to get them out of their God codes. That's through the shots. And when they disconnect from their God shows, then they're in the mind. It's not the heart. It's not the connection of their being. Which in the old days, we used to, when I was growing up, you'd feel the weather, you'd feel the weather changes, you get a sense of the forest, you get a sense of, what was happening in the day. You're more connected to your inner being, your senses. But now it's more technology. So that's a different matrix. That's a different system. and you enter that system, and then you scatter yourself in that system. So it's very important for me to unplug from that matrix and use it in a healthy way, not that I'm working for it, or not that I'm losing my life force or my joy or my soul information into that matrix, because I'm just feeding it with my soul information when it's wasting my time on video games or something like that.
I love that you mentioned that, Damien, because I know that we've been feeling a strong pull in exactly what you're speaking of, in really dreaming the next phase that we want to move towards and manifest within our reality. And really by tuning in to news media, and also oftentimes social media, and just how things are being pictured at this time, it's a feeling sense, right? It feels for me, it feels like my soul, something within me is withering. It feels congested. It feels tight. It feels that then I'm just irritable all the time. And then when I sense that that's happening over and over again, it hits me. It's like, okay, I need to switch gears. What am I being called to do? And that is now really focusing in and tuning in. What do I want to imagine this next stage looking like? What do I want our relationship with, for example, my partner to look like? What do I want my relationship with my siblings, my family, my community to look like? How do I want the interaction between myself and governmental body? What does a governmental body even look like? So really going into this place of imagining and dreaming and conjuring up the realities perhaps that have existed in the past, in the future, to really start to focus in on what we want to manifest at this point in time.
Absolutely. And it's very important to first accept what the system is at the moment. Not to say, oh, I can't believe that's happening. Oh, I can't believe they'll do that. Oh, no, they'll change. Actually, maybe they won't change. Maybe they won't change. And yes, they are doing it. So that's the first part, to accept it's actually happened. It is what it is right now. It's not, it is what it is. That's the first part. Then the second part would be to create a new system. So I don't need to fight the political system, but I can create a new system. And you will start creating a new system. Now, if you start visualizing a new political system, a new teaching system, a new school system, then you will start creating it in your system. And then you will attract similar vibration conscious beings who are new teachers, who are new leaders. And then you'll start creating this field, and the field will bring them to you, or you will be drawn to them. And now you've created a new field. Whereas you're not going against the tide, you're going with the tide. And then you'll find similar people who are on the same journey as you in the system. So for me, that's how I work with systems and create new systems. I don't want to waste my time fighting an old system. It is what it is. It'll collapse. But let's create a new system, and let's stay in my true vibration. I don't need to lower my vibration for anybody. I stay with my vibration, my truth, my level of consciousness, accept every level of consciousness without judging it, but stay true to who you are and stay true in your potential, in your vibration, and then you will attract the people of the similar vibration, which will create the new reality in the new world. And we'll literally dream the new world into reality and also bring it into action, because you're embodied at that point.
Well, and then it gets exciting too, because as you're doing it, then you start to see it actually happen. You do see these different people show up. You do see these different opportunities, which then kind of, it sort of like validates and reassures in certain ways for people to then stay the course, to keep doing it. It starts to become actually really fun in a lot of ways when you start to play with it.
And it feels easy and fun, just like the conversation we're having and the connection that we have. Like, you just popped into my life when I was just thinking exactly the same things you were thinking, and you were saying the same things I was feeling inside. And was like, wow. So that's how the universe brought us together, because we're working in our own different ways, but yet vibrating on a similar vibration, and then helping each other to come up. So that's how the universe works. It's beautiful. You don't even have to know how to get from A to B. Just set the intention and allow spirit to do the rest.
Well, I remember one of my old teachers I used to have, Dr. David Hawkins, and he would talk about it starts with the field. A lot of people think it's A plus B equals C, but it's actually this construct of A, B, C, that once you're there, then everything sort of transforms from that. So kind of like when you talk about the different fields or the different systems, it starts from that perspective. Once that field is there, then things kind of evolve from that field. So
Yeah.
And that's and you can't really predict it completely, which is kind of fun
No.
too. You don't know exactly how it's going to show up.
And also it may show up, it'll get you to a certain point because your level of consciousness can visualize a certain dream. And then you go above that level of consciousness, and then that thing you were creating collapses, and you say, oh my God, it didn't work, it just collapsed. Because now you're on another level of consciousness, and maybe you don't want a school, maybe you wanted all the schools in the world to change. So then the whole system will change, and then it goes to another level. So it'll always work to the level of your consciousness will allow it. There's like everything is possible. So it's our own systems that's stopping the system. Also, it's like I see it like a barge going into a lock. You know, maybe you have your vision, but you're not there yet. The system hasn't brought you the right information, the right vibratory experiences. And then slowly, when you're there, it doesn't make a difference if you go back or forward. It's like it's equal. And then it just comes to you. It's like the opening comes. So there's no trying anymore. Or it flows.
Nice. Damien, I know we're getting on time here, and I want to get a couple questions that came up too. One was specifically around sort of tying in with like plant medicine and drugs, recreational drugs. How does that play into what we sort of open the door to, even what we, you know, when people get caught into different drugs or even like addictions, sort of, I guess there's probably two parts. There can be recreational drugs, and then there can be plant medicines, and sort of what do you see the role with those, and beneficial and not so beneficial? What do we need to be aware of?
I work a lot. I haven't taken them, but I work a lot with people who do plant medicine and different shamans and that. So plant medicine for me, because I can tune into the frequencies and also the information behind it, it helps us release the control in the system. So people who are doing ayahuasca or different ceremonies or different journeys are allowing themselves to go through the dark nights of the soul, or whatever aspects they've been controlling that they can't go to, that they go to a state of realizing, either facing their demons or realizing that we are more than this physical body. We're much more, that we are eternal beings, that we are pure consciousness, light bodies, pure consciousness. And that sometimes we need medicine to do that. Or we can do, for me, I would say to people who do it, you can do it without it, actually, just tune into the frequency of the medicine. I know I used to, when I was growing up, I used to go to a lot of, I was in the ecstasy stage with the dance clubs. I used to go to the dance clubs, I didn't take ecstasy, but I would be in the ecstasy field all night. So the dealers used to come to me and say, what do you want, Damien? It's amazing. So I was in the field of ecstasy, and that was opening up my heart. So that helped to heal my heart in my system. Now, it was interesting to a few years ago, I was doing a workshop in Vienna, and I was in Vienna, it was in Switzerland, and I was past a morning after party on the way to the workshop, and when I passed, I could feel that they were having an after party, so they were all on drugs, and I realized that my system I started being lifted up into this ecstasy field, and I was like, whoa, I can't do my workshop. So I rang my organizer, says, listen, I can't do the workshop, I have to go to a walk in the park to come back down. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? What's the teaching here? And I realized that I left my ecstasy in the club. Ecstasy of spirit. So the ecstasy drug was only getting me to the ecstasy of myself. So then I accepted the ecstasy back into myself, because I realized it is me. It's all me. It's where people think it's separation from oneself, but actually it's me. In love with oneself, accepting oneself, this pure bliss state of ecstasy inside myself. So then I could just tune into it with an intention then. So people sometimes need different medicine to get out of the way. Other people using recreational drugs, I've seen sometimes they forget to come back because the trip is too good and they don't come back, like what I did with the ecstasy. I didn't come back, because I thought it was just the music and the club. It wasn't. It was the club and the music was the key to get me to that state, to open that state up. So the plant medicine is the key for opening the door, but it's you. It's like in a relationship, different partners will bring in different qualities. That partner opened the qualities for you, but it's you. It's not the partner. The partner helped give you the keys to sense that feeling, or to accept that quality in you. But you don't need that partner to have that, because that partner opened the door to you. And a lot of people, if they go into different relationships, they leave different qualities behind because they forget that they think they need that partner for that quality. So they never have that experience again, only with that partner that they were with before. But actually, if you say, okay, I honor all the gifts I have, I honor that you opened all the keys in me, and I honor all the keys I gave to you, and I honor that they're all in me. And then I can have that with whoever I'm with.
Mm-hmm.
And that opens my system. So recreation, drugs, partners, whatever it is, are there to help us remember and accept and trust ourselves back again, that we are whole already and we are one already. That we are the universe, we are creation, we are healthy, we are whole, we are love, we are all connected and multidimensional beings, and all is possible. And we're there already. There is no separation really in the system. We are whole already. It's like the plane going above the clouds and you see the sun. You know, we are that sun already, but there is a few clouds in the way sometimes.
Interesting. So what I'm hearing, Damien, is that once the intention is there, then especially where we are right now with things getting so heightened and amplified, that there's plenty of material and content and tools and instigators to work with that we actually might not even need, or even turning to plant medicine at this time might be a little bit too much, I'm thinking, for someone who's really yearning to work with this stuff, because there's a lot of stuff hitting the fan right now.
There's a lot coming up at the moment. So I would ask myself, okay, what resonates with me? Was it like if you're going to do plant medicine, okay, was it you doing it because your friend told you to do it? You know, are you doing it because you're drawn to do it? I didn't have a draw to do it. Or you're not doing it because also there's resistance. It could be because there is a breakthrough about to happen as well. There's different reasons. So for me, what's very important is, for example, like you see in the lockdown, a lot of people are watching Netflix, okay? So for me, it's like, okay, what are you getting from that? What's your soul getting from it? So for me, I'm very disciplined with my system, the time. So my time is precious. So if I watch that program, what's it doing for my soul? Am I benefiting from it? I don't feel much beneficial at all from any of the movies on Netflix. I feel it's actually damaging my system, so I don't watch it. So what is beneficial? What is bringing something to the table to me? What makes my soul richer? And when you start going into the higher purpose, what is the higher purpose of this? I put the intention, okay, I want the higher purpose of the day. I want the higher purpose of the system. And if you bring that in the soul level with that intention, the system will start giving you the higher purpose of the day, the higher purpose of whatever, I don't know, it'll bring you a movie, it'll bring you a documentary, it'll bring you a teacher, it'll bring you a book. So that intention will bring you to the right frequency of your vibration rather than dropping your frequency. So standards for me is important as well. Honor your quality, honor your standards, and discipline. Yeah, discipline, and have fun, enjoy life, that's what I keep getting from Spirit all the time. Damien, enjoy your life, have fun in your life, enjoy being here, enjoy being in the body, because that's how we manifest heaven on earth.
Mm-hmm.
So I go for a swim, or I do things in nature, I go for walks, and I feel like, wow, I'm in heaven and earth already, and then I can give that vibration out already.
Mm-hmm.
When you mentioned resonate too, which I think is really important, because I sometimes think some of these conversations can easily get too heady. Like we start to intellectualize what's good, what's not good, because there's ample information to read about all sorts of things, and you could prove or disprove anything. But I think when you mention resonate, that's been a really important one for us too, is really trying to dial in, like, and be clear with it, like sort of slow things down, get into a place where you can connect to that and what ultimately does resonate with you. And whichever way, it probably then is a part of a bigger picture anyway. So if you follow what resonates, that'll bring in more information to the system. And then from there, that'll bring in new decisions that you can make or new opportunities. So I think really it's like if we can just slow down and connect with what resonates. I even find this around diet, because I'm a naturopathic doctor, so it's like I talk to lots of people about diet, but in a lot of ways, people are trying to force themselves to do something. And it's almost like unless they're at a place where they really kind of feel like that resonates to do that, and that might even still be difficult sometimes. It doesn't mean it's always easy, but there's something underlying there that resonates with the idea of that, right? So then they're on board to now, okay, I'm going to make this sort of change because I know this feels right for me. I might have to get through some of the withdrawals of things or whatever, but they still have an underlying, and that's usually what carries them through to actually do it and follow through with it.
I think too, though, would you agree, Damien, that even clarifying your resonance or what it is that you're truly wanting to move towards is the clearing of the stuff that also gets in the way of knowing what that exactly means. So when you spoke of Netflix or the news or the media, the movies that try to create an impression upon you, like those are, in my mind, knowing what we know now, they're intentionally done in order to create a certain frequency so that you as an individual, the creator that you are, go out and create that within the reality. So really being clear and mindful of what it is that you actually allow into your system so that the system that you're functioning out of is clear.
Absolutely, 100%. And also, for example, if you're looking at your iPhone, okay, it's so fast, the technology. If you're looking through YouTube, if you're looking through Instagram, it's very fast, okay? So you're spreading yourself. So if you tap to pockets of information, your soul taps into those fields and stays connected in them. It's like if you're reading a book and then you're getting into it, and then you have to put it down and focus on something else, and then focus on something else, and focus on something else. Then you've just spread yourself. So you're not going to manifest anything productive in that day because you've spread your ability to create something solid in the system. So for me, if I'm working with a system, like for example, when I'm doing a session, I'm 100% in that session, and then I can manifest 100% in that session. Whereas if I'm in, spreading myself too much, I'm manifesting a little bit over here, a little bit over there, a little bit there, a little bit there, and I just wasted my day. So I always said the intention is if I was watching something, I would say to my system, okay, come back from that newspaper, come back from that, each day collecting myself, and bring myself back from those person, bring myself back from that TV, bring myself back from social media, because they're literally spreading our ability, our abilities, our power of manifestation into different things which are triggering us. And also they're desensitizing us because, for example, you're watching a movie, our system, if you see someone being killed in a movie, your subconsciousness thinks that's you. And then you're in survival mode, and then your immune system won't work properly. So when you see the news with the lights and the trolley running out with someone saying it's a pandemic, your system thinks it's you on that trolley, and you're in survival mode and your immune system won't work properly. So they know exactly what they're doing, and we should know exactly what they're doing as well and become conscious of it, and be aware that our systems can only take so much in a day of watching people being killed. Because then it's an overload for our system. We were not made for this level of technology. Our system takes time to get used to it. But if you're looking continuously at killing, at video games, killing people, that's your subconscious thinks that's you, and then that becomes normal, but you've just desensitized your system completely. So you are now in a different field, and you've just turned your sensory system off to certain levels of vibration, and you won't get into those systems then. So for me, it's very important to be aware about, be selective with your time and your space. If you want to use, like I used Instagram and that, but I'm very selective. I'll use at a specific moment in the day and then put it away. So it's eating your time, it's eating your abilities, it's eating your creation field that you can create a new reality. And it's making you think you will, it's triggering you. The way they work is that it knows what triggers you. You're pressing likes or something, but it knows what's triggering you. And once it triggers you, it opens your wound, which creates more separation, which creates more disconnection. And that's what's happening in the world at the moment. That's what the mainstream are doing to man at the moment on this planet. So if you're aware of how systems work, you're in connection again. So yeah, level of consciousness, discipline, and know what's going on, see the bigger picture, and focus on yourself, focus on what's happening in your system, focus on how you spend your day, get back to nature, get outside, go for walks. Like I used to work with a psychiatric hospital, and the rule, if I was to work with someone, I wouldn't work with someone unless they went to the forest or beside a forest. It says, okay, if I'm going to work with you, I won't work with you unless you walk an hour in the forest, and then you come to me. And that was the healing, actually. That was the connection, and that was really changing their lives. So it's to connect to out of the fear, out of the anxiety, and reconnect with nature again. And nature is the teacher. Nature is inside our system and brings balance and harmony into our systems again.
Yeah, so true. I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think that's, especially now, that's such a foundational piece, because there is so much stuff to keep everybody up here. Like, you really have to step totally outside of it. I mean, it's like, even nature itself, it's like, I mean, nature is really amazing, because even the different scents and it's almost like plants have a way of actually giving you what you exactly need at that point in time, wherever you go.
Yeah.
The look of it, the smell of it, even the phytochemicals they give off. I mean, it's really quite astounding. And I think of it very much the same. I think of Mother Earth the way I think of the mother and a newborn. It's like, if that newborn is dealing with something, the mother's milk will alter itself in order to give the baby exactly what it requires at that point in time. So if it picks up that there is something that it's fighting with its immune system, then the mother creates certain antibodies and whatnot, and different immune chemicals that will actually go to the child to support the child. And I feel like that's exactly the same as what Mother Earth does for every one of us. So when we immerse ourselves in it, we are just going to be getting bathed more or less in what we ultimately need, I think, from just a frequency standpoint. So it's been a life changer for us to spend so much more time in nature, and that's where we bring our kids all the time. So, and it makes a huge difference with kids. If you've got kids, take your kids outside for a while and get them in nature, and their whole nervous system just settles. When they're not out in nature for a long time, you'll see it rev up and up and up more and more too.
And the same with pets as well, cats or dogs or something. They really help us to stay in the moment, remind us to be present, and they support us so much. So it's absolutely, I 100% agree with, which is,
wonderful. Damien, any last thoughts before we finish up here? Anything else to share with the audience before we go? I think we've covered pretty much all of the questions we had, and thank you so much for everybody that has written in and shared your questions and your thoughts too.
I'll share this one that Eris sent in. Can we receive healing by the webinars on Damien? He corrected himself later on here. Damien's website. I have a lifelong struggle with scoliosis and that pain, and I know it's related to past lives material. So maybe you can speak to that before you give us your final thoughts as well.
Okay, scoliosis is, the spine is very interesting. It has whole our history in the spine, the feet, the hands. So the spine has all the information in it. So the spine is where we don't have support on different levels. It depends what part of the spine. So you can work with scoliosis. The webinars are living recordings. They're a field of information, living information and vibration. And it will work with you every time you watch it. There's lots of free webinars on my YouTube channel that you can try. And I always never hold back. I always open up the whole system, and whatever your spirit is ready to receive, it will receive whatever's there for you. And yeah, the scoliosis, I definitely work with probably the archetypes of mom and dad in the system, to build up the spine again, to build up the sides again, and yeah, to open up the whole system. But that would be more in, I'm just wondering what webinar would be. You would sense which webinar would match you there. Yeah, it can be. You can work with scoliosis. I've worked with scoliosis, and I've seen people's spine straighten up from working through their own trauma, their own childhood. I know the Dorn technique has a chart of the spine with all the different affirmations and what the trauma is behind it. It's a good start. Yeah. So you will set the intention, and the people or the person or the technique will show up.
Great, thank you. And they responded, thank you, makes perfect sense, thank you. Thank you, Iris, for the feedback as well.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
any final thoughts,
Any final
Damien?
thoughts before we head off?
Well, thank you first. You are doing amazing work, and I love the energy between the two of you and the space. It's really a perfect balance with the masculine and feminine and the couple in the system, which is quite rare actually to find such harmony and balance. So you're giving off really strong frequencies of the male, the female supporting each other with different qualities, as you have different qualities, and you're not competitive. You can feel that you're supporting and uplifting each other. So it's beautiful to see that. So thank you. So what's in the system at the moment? So I would say it's easier than you think, and you don't have to work for years on trauma. It can be cleared immediately in the system, and you will find your way. You will find the technique. You'll find the person who can support you. And I've seen people who never worked on themselves and then within an hour changed their lives. So I would like to release the belief system that you have to spend years working on trauma. It doesn't have to take years. The system will show whatever's open in your system, you can handle it when it's your information. And then the transformation is ready. You're ready for the transformation. And trauma, in a way, opens up like a book. It's not that you clear everything together, and it opens in a daily basis. So it gives you gifts in a daily basis. So when you get triggered, it opens up a system which is connected to another time and space. So I always set the intention that will go back to the origin. And I'm aware what's belongs to here, but I allow it to go back to the origin. What belongs to the other person, I know it's from their childhood, 0 to 16, the ancestors. I let that go back. And I sit with it and I breathe with it or meditate with it till I feel balance in my system. And then I feel whole and I've transformed it and cleared it. So then it's not going to trigger me on that vibration. And then maybe the next day another trauma opens up. But our spirit will, each time I do that, I feel more whole. I feel more connected. It's not always easy because it's bringing up different things. It's turbulent. But if you feel very much alive, you feel more whole, you feel more connected, and the truth opens systems. And once you reveal the veils, it can be a bit shocking sometimes when you see what's behind the veil. But actually, you feel on a soul level, you feel more complete, you feel more free, you feel more whole. Yeah, and that's where we're all going. We're all whole. We're all in the right place. Everyone can handle and is going through the perfect experience which that soul needs to grow and remember themselves. And we are all whole already, and just parts of us didn't accept that in our system. So the gifts are always there. We're always being guided.
Awesome. So due to the current climate, we can all celebrate now because we're all getting triggered.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's lots of content, and if, as you're saying, trigger is a beneficial thing because it's ultimately bringing up that thing within that's been repressed or pushed down that ultimately needs to be worked with and worked through, then it's a celebration of sorts.
It is a celebration, and also to remember, because it's holding us back against our free will. So key is to remember, okay, why is the pandemic so strong in my system? Well, for me, it was strong because I felt like I was being held against my will. So it opened up every time in my life and my past lives where I was held against my will or where I didn't speak out my truth. So those parts were being triggered. So for me, it was the best growth, the best transformation period I ever had in my entire life in the last year. And so it's huge transformation. And the light frequencies are supporting us and the field is supporting us for that transformation.
Beautiful. So even with that awareness that you just stated, then that can quickly materialize into the here and now in the question that I can ask myself on a daily basis: in what ways am I feeling pushed down, or in what ways am I not speaking my truth? And then that could be implemented right away on a day-to-day basis in order to actually heal that initial trauma that took place and that I'm
absolutely. And use what you see in the system as a growth, okay? And you don't need to go too deep into the wormhole on that level. It's like, don't get emotions too charged up. And if you notice yourself being charged up and furious and rageful, it's not benefiting your system, okay? Stay with it till it creates balance in the system, get the gifts from the system, and then recreate another system. Because otherwise you're recreating the same. I've worked a lot with different activists and they're getting so charged up and so angry because they're speaking from a wound. They haven't worked on the wound, the gift in the system. If you really want to change a system, you work what that wound is in your system. So where's that pollution in me? Where is that manipulation in me? Where's that politician in me? Then when I find that, then you find you're not emotionally charged, and then you're ready to stand on that stage and give that speech, because then you will transform a system rather than making a system's polarity stronger.
Yeah, that's such an important piece to remember, because otherwise I feel like what we end up doing is just actually adding more gas on the fire, and actually create more what we don't want, as opposed to what we're actually trying to correct or trying to heal. So such an important piece. And when you mentioned around the tension, in our last guest, Sarah Salter Kelly, in her interview, she had talked about trauma. She was a trauma survivor and has done a lot of work with that. And one of the things that she had mentioned similar was that trauma was often those places that felt restrictive, tight, trapped inside you. So with an awareness of when those things come up for us, that in itself, just an awareness around that, opens the door to being able to work with the next layer of it. So.
Oh, okay. I'll share you just one key, which is really easy and really simple to clear trauma, okay? First of all, you need to work with the mind. So that's very easy. It's always the left and right hemisphere that's been triggered where the loops are, okay? So simply what you do is you simply imagine the sunlight's, connect your feet, imagine sunlight's coming through your third eye, and then a channel of energy starts flowing through your third eye, down through your nervous system and through your system, okay? And you keep doing that. You'll sense it now if you watch this recording, and you sense an energy flowing through you. If you stay in that flow emotion, you'll notice that your system starts calming down. So if you do that for a few minutes, if you notice yourself looping, this is going to clear the subconsciousness, this is going to clear habits and clear your nervous system. Take a deep breath, okay? You can do this longer, okay? And now the parts that are left is the fragmented soul fragments, okay? And they're the parts where in the child, as you said about what your friend said, was where the child, imagine a child wakes up from a nightmare and you're the parent. All that child needs is you to hold space, not even get into the story of the conversation. And imagine all your traumatized children in you, or your ancestors, okay, woke up from a bad dream. All they need you to do, the most important thing, is stay in the body, hold space. And imagine you're holding space for all those little children inside you that have woken up from a nightmare. And they may want to tell you about the nightmare, and you say, yeah, I'm with you, I hear you, I feel you, I'm breathing with you, I love you, take your time, relax, it's all okay, I'm not disappearing from the body, I'm staying with you, I feel you, I'm not jumping out of my body, I'm with you. I stay with you, I accept you, I'm with you. And now those soul fragments are in you and they're home. Do you sense the shift? No, you sense, I know I did it fast, but...
It's almost as if you're creating a safe space through which all the fragmented parts of yourself can come home again.
Absolutely. Normally people have about 300 of them. I notice that when I do that, I get about 50 of them every time. So it's like they clear very fast. So anytime you notice yourself in the loop spinning, or you're traumatized what you see in the news, do that with the third eye, okay? Because that quietens the mind from the protection part. When you realize that it's calm, then you hold the part for the soul fragments and you stay with them and stay with them and stay with them. And then you feel more whole. That's two very easy ways to clear trauma. And you can do it yourself on a daily basis.
Awesome. Thank you. Damien, where can people find you and learn more about the work that you're doing?
On my website, Damien, D-A-M-I-E-N, scroll or dash wynne, WYNNE at .com. It's on my website. All the webinars are there. There's a lot of free webinars there, and they're all living recordings, as I say, and they work different every time. Each time you watch them, they're getting stronger and stronger with time.
Awesome. We'll have your information as well at the bottom of this video for everyone to look at. And if you haven't as yet checked out Damien's episode that just aired on Monday, please check that out. If there's any gaps, that episode will likely fill it in for you. And again, there's also Damien's website. You can
or make you just want to go and check out more of Damien's work.
Yeah.
So, and Damien is a part of this big series we're doing on trauma recovery. And so we've got an amazing panel of 15 or 16 guests for this, because we really do feel that at this point, this is the best way that we can kind of serve at this point in time. Is I feel like the more that we are all collectively working with our own trauma, and I feel like we are, like Damien's mentioned, we're in a really unique time right now where I feel like we can work with our trauma incredibly fast pace than stuff that we've often held for decades. So right now, I think lots of these different guests are coming, bringing their insights, bringing different tools, bringing different awarenesses. And I mean, if you like this episode with Damien, it's like, stay tuned, because it's going to round out so much information, and I think super valuable at this point in time.
So next week, we're having Kathy O'Brien episode air on Monday, and she'll be back for a live at the end of the week as well. Damien will hopefully join us for a panel conversation that we'll have, and that'll really be, we love the panel conversations because they're so fun, and the guests that oftentimes come together and that we bring together is so valuable, because they're coming in from different perspectives, and to round out all those different perspectives for us to get a more of a holistic view of the possibilities of healing and expansion.
And it's such fun energy, because even like the guests kind of that maybe have even heard of each other but haven't actually met, it is a neat way to kind of pull these people together too.
And connect them.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what I usually observe in the systems like that is that we're all doing the same thing but with different words. We're saying the same thing with different words from different perspectives. So it's like a diamond with different facets. So the more facets we bring in, the more, it keys transformation. So it's beautiful. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, thank you, Jay, for having me, and thank you, everyone. Yes. So
thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks for joining, everyone.